Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the boys, almost a full squad. We've got Kev joining imminently, and this is a massive show for us. This is our 25-26 season prediction show, and this is where we give all our guesses, our optimism, our players of the season, our young players of the season, where Villa are finished. And then ultimately, when we come to the end of the season, we run it back and we embarrass ourselves at what we thought was going to happen at the start of the season. But anyway, we're going to do it. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Guys, we are so close to 6,000 subscribers. Well, I think we're at 5,890. So just over 100 left to get. Please do like and subscribe and help us to grow the channel. Keep your comments flowing in. We've got a few categories to go through. We have on the cards tonight the league winners, the top four, the relegation, and then the Villa awards, the young player of the season, the Villa flop of the season, the dark horse of the season, and then the player of the season. And then the boys have got their hot take of the season across the Premier League, what they think is going to be something that is controversial that might happen. So get involved in the chat, please, people, and get your thoughts in. George, I'll come to you first, mate. It has been a long while, and while we were chatting backstage, a bit of a break from Aston Villa. Are you rested and recuperated and looking forward to this season?
Evening, boys. Evening, everyone watching. Yeah, had to have a little bit of a break. So the way last season ended was just a bit of a tough one to swallow for us all. I took it rather badly myself, so just enjoyed a nice little, enjoyed the weather this summer and busy with family and all that sort of stuff, you know, and there hasn't been nothing to talk about really, is there? So, yeah, when it matters, the old Fowler's back.
The old Fowler is back, of course. And Martin, you have been my trusty companion across these fans forums over the summer. And George said there's been nothing to talk about, but we've found plenty to talk about, haven't we, these last few weeks, Martin? But yeah, good to see you, mate. How are you looking forward to the big kickoff this weekend?
Well, look, as they say, Rich, you could probably talk for United Kingdom and I could talk for Ireland. So obviously there was loads to talk about as the few weeks was going on. So it was great. It was great to have on numerous of people watching as well over the cross few weeks, which was very good for us, which it goes to show we're doing something right. But yeah, I'm buzzing. Finally, some Premier League football back. I was sick and tired to me death of watching Love Island with my girlfriend. I do love you, Emer, if you're watching. It's a terrible show. But my real love is back. My proper Love Island is back.
Yes. Well, hopefully we're not evicting some people from the Aston Villa Love Island anyway, but we'll see about that. Engine number 9 says, yes. Watching 1874 just went live, but then the best Villa podcast came on live, so he had to swap. Much appreciated, mate. I'm sure there's some. 1874 is a great pod, but you know where it's at. You know it's at the Villa Park podcast, of course. British Mick says, Martin's in. You are the voice of reason, so don't let him down with some dodgy takes. Yes, Martin. There you go. Yes, Gary.
He did say I should have my own show, so I really can't let him down.
Exactly. Gary said, hello, chaps. Villa does your head in eventually. Exactly, mate. But, you know, we all keep coming back. Absolutely. Joys of following the Villa, says James, the real roller coaster. And great to have you in, David. And Geordie, Tomb for life. Love you, mate. Come in peace. Just here to support Rich in the channel. Top man. Make sure you hit the likes, people, and get involved in the chat. So I know Kev is joining us very, very soon, but we will get started. So let's get these ones out of the way, the general Premier League ones out of the way. So let's talk about our league winners. So get in the chat who you are predicting for winning the league. Before we get the graphic up, George, how competitive are you thinking that the season is going to be this season in terms of the title race?
Yeah, I think it should be. It should be a decent one. I mean, the big six have sort of gone into overdrive this summer, haven't they? I think they've decided that there's no more upsetting the apple cart and us small clubs jumping in and ruining their domination. So they've all spent an absolute hatful of money. So yeah, the top boys having a really good go at it this year.
Yeah, they are. And Martin, do you think it'll be the familiar boys at the top of the tree, the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City?
Yeah, and I think it'll be very close as well. I don't think it's going to be that typical like 2-horse race for a title. I think this would be a 3-horse race and a very, very close one at that. I do have one to pip it, maybe just.
Well, let's get into it. Let's have a look. So, on the comments, Gary says boring, but Arsenal just, he thinks. And Geordie Toonfly says, I'm going against the odds. I'm going to Man City to win the league. British Mick says, I think Chelsea's depth will prove insurmountable. They will naturally be full of confidence. And David said Liverpool will win the league. Bear in the Garden also says Chelsea. So there's a few variety ones. Now, when I've looked at the graphics, here we go. Engine number 9, Villa to be top at Christmas. James says Villa to win the league. Where is Kev when you need him? Because someone's got to win it. Adamski says he thinks Chelsea might stun it. Gary said, hope Premier League are happy now, us and Newcastle struggling to compete. Well, we kind of knew that ultimately things would catch up and they would sort of jump on that bandwagon and all of a sudden be able to make loads of transfers. But let's have a look at what the boys have said. League winners, I have gone for Manchester City, and I'm the only one who has upset the apple cart, really. Kev, Liverpool. Sam, Liverpool. George, Liverpool. And Martin, Liverpool. Well, seem to have lost Martin, but George and Liverpool just too good at the minute.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've had a fantastic season last year. I mean, a great debut effort from Slot coming in, doing, trying to replace Klopp was no mean feat, and he absolutely smashed it, didn't he? And I just think they've, from a position of strength, they've really gone at it hard again in the summer, haven't they? Signed some what look like top quality players on paper, and if the rumours are true that, the Isak move is still sort of there in the offing with everything that he's doing to try and get his move. I mean, if they get him, surely it's going to be a procession for Liverpool. But as I did say, there's Chelsea have gone hard, City have gone hard January and the summer. Arsenal, have signed their striker, their missing piece of the jigsaw. So it should be a good go. But yeah, I'm going for Liverpool to make it back-to-back titles.
We lost you there for a sec, Martin, but you've also gone for Liverpool. In agreement with George that they've just made the big signings and to kind of improve on last season where they won the league. Are you just thinking that they're just a bit too strong?
Yeah, sorry about that. My Wi-Fi had gone off there for a split second. But yeah, I think Liverpool will just about win it. I don't think it'll be a case of they'll comfortably win as opposed to the signings that they make. I do think Arsenal with signing Gyökeres looks like an exciting prospect for them. I think Man City is still kind of going through a rebuild. And I don't think that rebuild is going to be as instant as people would like to think it is. I think that's going to be another maybe 1 or 2 seasons before they hit the heights of what they were years ago, because John Stones not really reliable as much with his injury record. Ruben Diaz hasn't hit the heights as he used to. They've got Nuno Mensa, he's still playing at right back, very high up, and he's a centre midfielder. Ain't Nuri Yesta out and out left back that they've been screaming for. He can't kind of do everything on his own. No De Bruyne as well, and I think that's going to play a factor. And I think Rodri is going to struggle this season only for fitness terms as such, because we all know coming back from an ACL injury, players can fall behind. I don't think he'll go down the pecking order as such. I'm just thinking he might fall behind in terms of, fitness levels, and it might kill him. So I think maybe they will be up there. Don't get me wrong. They still have the quality to possess that top part of the Premier League table. but I think they'll struggle just a little bit. But I think Liverpool will tip it just for the sheer firepower that they've got and balance in midfield along the back as well. I just think Liverpool have too much.
Yeah, I think if they manage to sign Isak, I think that is pretty much a game changer. Who else have we got in the chat? Engine number 9 says Villa to win 3 trophies. Hyten
nice.
says Villa treble winners, the cups that is. And Kevin said Villa Europa League winners. So there we go. We've got some big shouts there. Stephen says Chelsea will implode. There's too much ego. Adamsi said, I think Liverpool will struggle to find their best 11 and drop points. And they're weak in defense, Engine number 9. I did notice a little bit of defensive fragility against Crystal Palace on the weekend, which will be interesting. Gary seems to think that Isak will disrupt the Liverpool team. Too many forwards. British Mick says City is always going to be a solid shout, and you'd be silly to write Liverpool off, but I don't see either one winning it. Liverpool are not as defensively sound as they could be, and City are random. Deontay said, I saw an interesting stat yesterday. The last time Arsenal finished second in each of the last 3 seasons, they won the league the following season. Could Victor Gyökeres be that answer for them? Carrie's in the chat, Villa. Well, you never know. You never know. We could potentially do it. I've gone for Man City. I think that they might have the bit between their teeth to go after it this season. And I think a lot of the talk has been obviously on Liverpool. I think it's been on Arsenal getting that striker to take them over the line. But, you know, Man City did a lot of investment in that January window. And then they've signed a few players this window. I know they're looking to maybe move Savio on. I think they're after maybe Rodrigo, and they're potentially after Donnarumma as well. So that would be massive if they sign him. So that'll be really interesting. But yeah, Liverpool looks to be the safe bet. A few people in the chat saying Chelsea. It'd be interesting to see how they blend together. Let's take a look at the relegation at the moment. Who do we think is going to get relegated? Let's get in the chat. So, George, I'll come to you first, just before we get your choices and we get everyone's choices. But Burnley, Sunderland, and Leeds have come up. How do you see them faring in comparison to the previous 3 teams that came up in terms of Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich?
Yeah, well, it seems boring to pick them 3, but it just seems like it's getting tougher and tougher with each passing season for these clubs to sort of survive. You know, they all went last year, and I've got a feeling they're all going to go again because, you know, you look at the money that the team sort of like above that, the money they're pulling in for players now. You know, I've just seen Bournemouth today selling a centre back for like 57 million. Do you know what I mean? And then you see in the players in the squads of these championship teams that, you know, 2-3 million. It's just an absolute sort of it's different league, isn't it? And yeah, I think it's a bit sad, really. And I do hope I'm wrong. I hope someone, you know, a surprise does come down. But to me, it just looks like that gap between the Premier League and the Championship is just ever widening.
Well, we've seen Sunderland splash a bit of cash, but do you think, Martin, it's a case of similar to what Aston Villa had to do when they went up, similar to what Fulham did, or do you see some real quality there? I mean, Granit Xhaka seems like an excellent signing, and 1 or 2 others. Do you feel like a team like Sunderland have maybe got what it takes, or Leeds, you know, with their kind of home atmosphere? Do you think they might be able to give a good fist of it?
I think Sunderland, in my opinion, will comfortably stay up. I think they'll be one of the ones that'll do well from the last while, because funny enough, the last team to stay up in the Premier League from Championship were Bournemouth, Fulham, and Forest. All 3 of them being promoted. They were the last 3 to stay up, and since then, each of the 3 have gone down from coming up from the Championship. And I just think Sunderland, Leeds, in my opinion, will stay up. I think Leeds will just about stay up, like you said, Rich, for that home atmosphere. They have that bit of energetic drive now to try and compete for themselves in the Premier League. So I think they will. Maybe 16, 17, 15 at the most for Leeds. And I think Sunderland could be 13th or 14th, because I just think them signing Xhaka, Simon and Zrada as well from Brighton. They seem to have added some good quality and experienced players in the Premier League. And I know Xhaka came from Leverkusen, but he still has that Premier League experience from playing with Arsenal. So I think they've done well in the market to get some experience, but as well as some energetic players to get that balance for the squad. As opposed when Villa came up and we were just kind of splashing absolutely everywhere, hearing the players we've probably even never heard of, Marvelous Nakamba being one. Any chance I get, I'm saying, don't care. But I just think that them two will stay up. I just think for Burnley, it's not happening because they just seem to, they spent a lot of money on the Chelsea players who are very good at selling players, by the way. They could sell water to a tap. That's just how good they are at selling. But I just think they'll go down. I don't think they'll have the quality for staying up in the Premier League for me.
Fair enough. Well, let's get into the chat. Let's see what people are saying. Bear in the Garden says Wolves. Geordie Tomb for Life, no surprise there, says Sunderland, and Sunderland. Gary says Brentford, Burnley, and Sunderland. Deontay, Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley. So basically the three that went up. Kevin says relegated Sunderland, Burnley, and Bournemouth. Interesting. Very interesting there. Geordie does say, seriously, Sunderland, Burnley, and Brentford. So Brentford getting a fair few shouts. Bournemouth selling too many, like Southampton did, says Gary. If Brentford lose Wissa, then I'd swap Sunderland with Brentford, says Deontay. David said Sunderland, Burnley, and Wolves. And he'd also love Villa to sign Wissa and Eze. I'd love us to sign Eze, definitely. Anyone else in the chat got any names? No, not yet. So quite a few saying Brentford and Bournemouth are going to struggle. George, do you see that?
Brentford, obviously, the clubs have come and finally sort of took a lot of their top players, haven't they? You know, you've got Mbeumo that's gone off to Man United. Wissers, he's sort of playing up a little bit, similar as Isak is, isn't he? He's desperate to get out to get to Newcastle. But obviously, the biggest loss for them is the manager, Thomas Frank, going. You know, he's done a great job there at Brentford. They've had the continuity, 5-6 years or whatever long he's been there. And, and you're putting in a rookie in Keith Andrews. So I can see why people are thinking, Brentford could, it could all go wrong for them this time round. But they've still got good players there. And, I think they'll be all right. And I think Bournemouth, your man's right. They've lost a lot of players, but it's the money they're pulling in. They're no mugs, Bournemouth. They've got good owners behind them, and I think they'll be absolutely fine. But the shock one there was Wolves. I mean, does people not see the way Wolves finished last season? They were exceptional. So I can't see them being in any trouble.
Yeah, I guess it's the fact they lost Cunha, haven't they? Big player for them. Have they lost a couple of other players? They lost the left back, the left wing back. They've lost Aït-Nouri to Man City.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think it's more the case that they've lost players and not necessarily replaced them. But we'll see. I mean, they're generally pretty strong at home, and they always beat Villa at home. So
it's nailed on for them.
It'll be interesting to see. But let's take a look at what the boys have put for their relegation. So I've gone for Brentford, Burnley, and Sunderland. So I'm saying Leeds are going to stay up. Kev has said Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland. So basically the three promoted teams to go down. Sam, Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves. So there we go. Sam's gone for Wolves. So he's gone for Sunderland to stay up. George, Leeds, Sunderland, Burnley. So there you go, the three promoted teams. And Martin, Brentford, Burnley, and Wolves. So two promoted teams staying up, as you said before, mate. Leeds and Sunderland managing to avoid the drop. So that would be very interesting if two of the promoted teams could maybe avoid the drop. Really, really interesting there. Let's just say it's going to be hopefully teams will put in a bit more of a fight, because there's nothing better than especially hopefully Villa not involved in it, but there's nothing better than a proper to the wire relegation battle, isn't there? Like this last season, it was just poor, wasn't it? Because everyone knew who was going down, fourth, maybe
Everyone's
even
gone by April, basically
10 games before the end of the season. So you want some real jeopardy in there. So yeah, we want that. Adam says Martin is mad for saying Wolves and Brentford. Leeds will not be surviving. I don't think you said that, did you? Sam said Wolves. Sam said Wolves. Yeah.
I said, he thinks I'm mad for saying Wolves and Brentford to go down. I just think with Brentford.
Sorry, you have gone Wolves and Brentford. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I've gone with like two maybe experienced Premier League teams, simply because like George was saying there with Brentford, they've lost their manager, they've lost a lot of their top players, their experienced captain in Norgard. I know they brought in Henderson, but he's not got the legs. So it's a midfield I'm looking at for them. There's not a lot of legs, not a lot of energy. It's going to be ran through very quickly. And I think that'll be when Keelan Kelleher gets found out as a goalkeeper in the Premier League, because he's going to be in number one with the defence in front of him. That doesn't look strong either. There just seems to be a lot of outgoings with Brentford at the moment. And it's nothing against Keith Andrews in terms of, is he going to be a bad manager? I don't think he will be. I think he could be a very exciting manager. But it's just a case of it's not happening for him. You know, he's coming in and it's just a mass exodus. I know Brentford are great in finding little gems on the cheap and selling them on a high price, like a Brighton, but I just think there's only so long you can sustain that, and I think that's what's going to catch Brentford out, in my opinion. With Wolves, they haven't really signed like replacements for players they've lost. I'm just looking at their defence. It looks now lackluster. It's not going to look great. It's going to look stiff. Their midfield is the exact same. It's not going to be maybe that energetic midfield that we saw at the end of last season, how they were getting points. It looked great. In the attack, they had Cunha, Strassen. They did a really good team at that stage, but now they've lost some big players and haven't actually made any additions to what they've lost. I just think they could be in real trouble like they were last season before they had changed their manager. So I just think they're going merely back to square one, and I think they'll be found out as well. And like for Burnley, I just think they'll be a yo-yo club for the next while, up and down, up and down.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Like I say, it's going to be really interesting. Loads of questions about Villa and transfers and stuff. We will try and get to some towards the end, but as you know, this is our prediction show. But we will obviously talk transfers because there's been quite a bit of news today. So please do keep your comments coming in. Make sure you smash the like button. There's a few people in the chat that have said that that have reminded people too. We've got nearly 200 of you in. So please do like and subscribe. We're so close to 6K. Like I said before, literally just over 100 to go. So please do help us continue to grow the channel and get to that big 6K mark. So top four now. Don't want to spoil anything, and I'm sure plenty of people will be very positive in the chat. George, you talked about maybe some of the big boys pulling away from the likes of Villa and Newcastle and the like. Any chance for Villa for top four finish?
You never know. I mean, I've kind of always maintained it's not really about what we do; it's about what they do. If that, it's all good and well spending all that money, but then players have to not be flops, don't they? And they have to hit the ground running. Yeah, if they do, then I'm saying probably not for Villa. But we've gone down the other road and not done much business. We're relying on the continuity of last year and the strong finish to the season. That can be worth its weight in gold as well. So it depends which way it goes, mate. But the power is with the big boys, and it will all be depends on how their players, start off at their new clubs. But we've always got a chance, mate.
And are you in positive frame of mind, Martin, before we get everyone's top four predictions up there?
Look, I think Villa might be in the race for a top four, but I just think that with the signings the big boys have made, they could have that bit too much. But I see where George is coming from. They'll have to deliver that, and if they don't deliver that, it becomes a flop, and that could be an advantage for us. I do think the squad that we have is still capable because we have that continuance going into the new season. I thought everyone looked sharp in pre-season. Rustiness was gone. There's decisions now being made before they were even thinking about it. So I just think that we can be up there, and it does depend if the new signing for the teams if they flop. But if they deliver, then I think Villa may just miss out, and it would just go to show that we probably should have made a few signings. But look, there's still a few weeks left in the window. Could be one or two additions, and that could change my whole perspective on Aston Villa in terms of where they finish in the table. So, like I said, I just think we could be up there, but it solely depends on all these new signings where they're going to be flop or hits.
Definitely. Like you've said, George, the continuity piece has been one that we've gone for, whether that be out of choice or necessity. We don't know that, but it certainly felt like a bit more of a settled pre-season with regards to players being able to train for the whole of pre-season and not necessarily coming back slightly injured or coming back late because of international tournaments. And, you know, there's been new contracts signed. There's been a kind of general sort of momentum build across the pre-season, like with new signings and with potential contracts, like I say, signed, and then there's other ones in the offing. So you've got to think that, you know, that familiarity, if we can bring in one or two slightly different ways of playing or different slight tactical tweaks. And I know British Mick in the comments has talked about the mentality shift, you know, particularly in those big games. There might be an opportunity for us to do something.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I'm not really too much more I can add to that. We've seen the Villa of last season was 2 Villas of last season, wasn't there? And I'm still not sure which one we actually are. We've got kind of the first half of the season where we were injury ravaged, lots of games, couldn't put a run together for no love or money. You know, it was win, lose, draw, wasn't it, for months? And then, you know, after Christmas, the injuries sort of slowly cleared up and we got a couple of decent loans in and, you know, we were brilliant after that. So, like, this with Villa, I'm like, are we the Villa of the chasing pack? Are we in with Fulham, Brighton, Brentford? Maybe not this season, Brentford, but you get my drift. Are we them teams, or are we the Villa of the second half of the season that were smashing all that whole top half there? I'm still not quite sure what our actual position is, but you know, we finished, so I guess
pure Jekyll and Hyde, pure Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah. Let's hope that I don't know whether we're more Jekyll or more Hyde. I don't know which one. Is it Jekyll who's the good one?
No, Jekyll's the bad one.
Oh, is he? I don't know. Geordie Toonfly says City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, unfortunately, for the top 4. I know potentially it'd be 5 that get into the Champions League, but I'm still keeping it to top 4.
Yeah.
Engine number 9 says Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Villa, and 5th Arsenal. Wow. Okay, so
Arsenal
going on for Arsenal. So yeah, Carrie said 99% certain top 5 will be Champions League places. Yeah, of course. And he's listening from California. Thank you so much, Carrie, for your support for the channel.
They know how
British
to
Mick says, yeah, he's not writing us off. Yes, Martin. But we need bigger mentality monsters in our team. The capitulations in the cup and final game needs to be a case study. I still don't understand it. It still haunts me, as it does George. Adam says, as much as we kept players last year, we conceded too many and didn't score enough. Don't think we've improved that much, sadly. Well, those are some of the points that I made in my pre-season kind of reviews, where it's like, have we addressed the errors? Have we addressed the points that needed to be improved from last season? And I guess the proof of the pudding will be in the eating as the season starts. Deontay says Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So Liverpool in 4th. Interesting, very interesting. Who else have we got? Bear in the Garden says Chelsea, Arsenal, Aston Villa in 3rd, and Liverpool. So there's a few people getting Villa in the top 4. Rod says, I can see us being top of the league come December. Not sure we can maintain it, but think we can get off to a flyer. A couple of people have said that. Carrie says City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Aston Villa, and he's gone for a top 8. Man United, Tottenham, and Newcastle. So there we go. 5th position for Aston Villa. So let's see what the boys have said for their top 4s. So I've gone for Man City, as I said, to win the league. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea for the top 4. Kev's gone for Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, and Aston Villa. Sam has gone for Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. So Arsenal, again, not in the top 4 with Sam's choice. George, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea. And Martin, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea. So 4 of us going for Chelsea to get in the top 4. 2 of us going for Villa to get in the top 4. And a couple of people, like we said, not picking Arsenal in that top 4. So I'll ask you now, because I haven't put Villa in there, but I'll ask you, George and Martin, where do you see Aston Villa finishing then if it's not the top 4?
And George, try not to offend us this time.
Well, I wasn't far off last time, was I? Do you know what? I hadn't even thought about this really. I reckon it'll be similar to last year. I think 6th, 7th. I think. as I said earlier, I don't know. It's hard to call it at the moment. As I said, for me, it's about how good the big boys are this year. If they're not at the level, we can be there to step in. But if they are, it's going to be tough, isn't it? So yeah, I'll go with 6th again.
6th. Okay, so top 6 finish for Villa. Martin?
5th. I do think that we can be up there. I don't think Forest are going to be as much of a threat. They might struggle with the weeks of Europa League and Premier League.
So we might, mate, as well.
I don't think we will. I think we have got the good squad depth to compete in both competitions. I don't think Forest do. I just think you might see Newcastle drop off with their ongoing stuff at the moment. So I think we can finish 5th. And I know that people might say, oh, Tottenham and United might be up there, but I don't think they will. I really don't. I just think United are going to leak goals. I don't think Tottenham is going to be as great as maybe a lot of people might think. But I've got Villa to go 5th. And my top 4, I think, is pretty standard just for the way them clubs are going at the moment. So I think we can get 5th. And if that's an extra spot for Champions League, happy days.
Absolutely. David says top 4, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Stephen says top 4 finish for Villa. Kev said it's Europa League final or bust them, go and win it. No excuses. I think someone else in the chat had said we'd win I think it might have been Duncan said we'd win the Europa League. So lots of people confident about that. David said he sees Villa finishing 6th if they sign more players. Kay said it'd be interesting to see how Spurs get on this season. Top 6 finishes on the cards for Villa, 6th, I think. And Engine number 9 said Liverpool won the league with 1 signing that played, and Villa signed 1 player who will play. Gesand, just saying. Yeah, but they have got Mo Salah, so it does kind of cancel it out a little bit there. Okay, good. Well, that's the kind of, I guess, the general sort of Premier League stuff done, and we're fairly positive, I think, about Aston Villa's chances, which is good to see, very good to see. So let's get into the personal sort of awards, let's say. So let's talk about, I'll put these up. So let's talk about the dark horse of the season. So, George, you've gone for Ian Matson. Would you class him as a dark horse for the season, or are you saying that he's gonna sort of take that number 1 spot away from Luca Dean?
I don't know. You're thinking about this and you're thinking dark horse. What does it mean? We've got all the whole squad's good players, aren't they? So it's like, I'm just basing that on the way Matson finished the back end of last year after what was a tough, half a season, 3/4 of the season for him. He just started finding his groove, didn't he? Especially in the home games when we were just going at teams, like especially that Newcastle game last season. He was just outstanding, and he's getting some assists. I think he's going to be good for a few goals as well. And I just think, I'm not sure he's going to take Dean's position every week. I think that'll be a good ding-dong between them two. But I just think, with all the Europa games and that as well, I just think he's going to establish himself more than become more of an important player for us than he has been so far.
Before I come to you, Martin, Duncan says Marlon is the dark horse. Gary says Lewis Dobbin. Adam
never change, Gary.
Before you get on to yours, it's a myth Buendia has ever been good for us. Don't think he's good enough for where we are now. Geordie Toon says dark horse is got to be Tyrone Mings.
That was mine last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Gary said he's got to be Gesand. And Bear in the Garden says Bogard. Now, I'll come to British Mick in a second. But Martin, you've gone for Adam's favourite player, and that is Emi Buendia. And you're also and Sam is also in agreement with you. So what makes you think it's going to be Emi Buendia?
I just think that this is going to be more of like a redemption arc type of season for Emi Buendia, just because we had seen last season he didn't really get a preseason due to the ACL injury that he had. So he sort of fell behind, not in terms of the pecking order, but also in terms of his fitness compared to the other players, because they had that preseason, they were sharp, they were ready. Buendia was playing catch up the whole time, especially when he came into the cup games, even though we got a goal against Wickham, which was great to see and was great for him. but he was behind in terms of everyone else's fitness, and he's trying to catch up with that and trying to be sharp and ready. But as people are going on and on and on, they're getting higher, and he's just playing catch up every single time. And then he went off on loan to Bayer Leverkusen, and he only got 237 minutes. And you might think that's bad for the few months that he was there, but a lot of them were substitute appearances. He got a goal and assist, and he was making himself busy. Like you say, Rich, yeah, he makes himself busy, but there's a lot of mistakes. But this preseason, I think he's wiped off a lot of mistakes. Yes, there was still one or two. I'm not going to say he's the most perfect player ever, but he was getting himself about, being busy. His pressing was incredible. You know, his eye for goal looked really sharp against Villarreal, especially with a great finish. Great free kick against Roma. Passing ability was absolutely unbelievable this preseason. And I just feel like because he got this preseason now, he's on the same level of fitness as everybody else. And I just think that might fall into his favour now. And I really think he's giving Unai Emery something to think about in terms of attacking options. Now, do I think he's going to start over Morgan Rogers or maybe other potential players? I don't think so. But I do think he might be more impactful from the bench and maybe get a few starts as the season goes on, because it's going to be great for rotation and we have that depth now and quality. I do think Emi Buendia will have a good season, simply because now he's back to the level playing field everybody was at in pre-season this year, as opposed to what he was last season. So I just think that he will kick on from this, and I just think that he'll be on top of his game.
Well, we'll see. I'm still not 100% convinced over Emi Buendia, but I hope he does well. I really do. I just think there's so many times where he gets into great positions, he drives with the ball, but then the final pass holds onto it for too long, or when there's a better, more productive pass to make, for some reason, an inexplicable reason, he doesn't do it, which is the frustrating thing about him. But then he does come up with some really nice moments with, and scoring from dead ball situations and free kicks. We don't have many players that can do that. So that's a nice skill to have. British Mix said, you're not going to believe this, but I'm with Martin on this. Buendia looks very promising, and I'd struggle to see how you could write his performances off. He's a completely different player. Kevin Jean says Watkins is going to be the dark horse. Engine number 9 said Gesson is to be better than Salah to help us win the league. Paul D says Gesson think he's ready to make a massive impact, skins people for fun, and has unknown quantity vibes. David said Onana should be starting. And David says Lamar Bogard, so I'll come on to him in a second. Adamski says Cash, he turns into a proper defender. Well, we'll see. Adam said he wonders if Gesson will get the Marlon treatment and barely play for the first few months. Be interesting to see that. It will be interesting to see. Sarko said pre-season, it means nothing. I think this is in relation to Buendia. He has 10 times less space on the ball in the Premier League, and he cannot maneuver, outpace, outstrength past opponents, and he gets visibly frustrated when he does.
I agree with that.
That's the difference. That's the difference thing. Terry, yes, lads, up the Villa, and there's only one Terry Turner. Great stuff. We're glad there's only one Terry Turner. Stephen said Maatsen, he's got the pace, and Kevin said George Hemmings could be the dark horse. Yeah, that's a good shout. You never know, but whether he's going to get used a lot in the season is another story. But I've gone for Lamar Bogard. I think that he has been one who I think has bulked up over pre-season, and he has shown that I think the players trust him a little bit more to give him the ball. He can operate in that right-hand side position, right-back position. He can operate in the right centre-back position. So I think he's going to get more minutes this season. I think we can utilise him a lot more in the Europa League. So for me, I think Lamar Bogard will be the player that will kind of break through and sort of cement a bit more of a first team spot this season and be that dark horse for the season. So there's a few people saying that in the chat as well. So we'll see. Yes, Freddie Gilbert had a good preseason. Yeah, man, he was terrible. Villa fans loved him because he ran back and he did a few slide tackles. That used to wind me up because it was meant he was in the wrong position in the first place, that he had to sprint back and do some real last-ditch slide tackle. But,
it looked good though, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked great. Villa fans loved that. That's what I think the whole thing with Buendia is. Like he runs around, looks busy, and Villa fans are like, "Oh, we lap it up because he runs around a lot." It's like, come on, like that's. But anyway, we digress. Let's hope he is the dark horse of the season. Thank you, British Mick. Just want to say thanks for the pod. Really cheered me up. We lost our grandma this week. It's okay though. We found her around the back of Asda. That's terrible. I was just about to give you a shout out there. That's terrible. That shows
great setup. You got set up there, Rich, big time.
That was terrible. I didn't read it properly. Let's talk about the flop of the season for Aston Villa. And we never really like to do this because we don't want to see anyone flop for the season. But let's bring it up on the screen. So Martin, you've gone for Matty Cash. George has gone for John McGinn. Kev and Sam have gone for Leon Bailey, and I've gone for Donyell Marlon.
Rich, are you okay?
I am okay. What makes you say that?
Donyell Marlon, you think he's gonna flop?
Mm-hmm. Go on, Rich, explain.
This has to be your hot take. If this is your hot take,
I just think that we are so willing him to do well because of the perceived injustice of what we feel that he had last season, that we are so willing him to do well and play games and do brilliantly. I just don't think that he will. I don't think he'll live up to that expectation or that hope and promise that we have for him. I like some parts of his game. I like the fact that he's kind of quite direct and he will sort of like a bull in the china shop. But there's other parts to his game where I think he doesn't hold the ball up very well. His first touch is not great. I just don't know if Unai Emery is going to use him and utilize him enough for what Villa fans hope will happen. I just think that we've built up this kind of character of Donyell Marlon because he didn't get in the Champions League squad. He didn't do this, and I don't know. I just don't think he's gonna have the promise that we hope he will have. That's just my take on it. I was going to go for Pau Torres, as well, but I plumped for Donyell Marlon because I thought it would be a bit more controversial. What do you boys, an answer to that? What are your thoughts?
Thing with Marlon, a lot of people when he signed were thinking, right, this is the long-term replacement for Leon Bailey, right? I think I was probably said that myself. But obviously we've still got Bailey, but now we've got Gesson as well. For me, was Marlon just a replacement for Philogene? And if he was the replacement for Philogene, he's played as much as Philogene was going to play. Just because we spent 20 million on him, maybe this is all he is. Maybe he's just a squad player, an impact sub. We're all wanting him to, it's time he got in. Maybe this is going to be his role. He's not going to be one of the top boys. So I don't know. What do you think, Mark?
I can understand where Rich is coming from because we all want them to do well and, try and break into that team. I can understand why he said it is in terms of the expectations, but no, I don't think he's going to be player of the season, right? Like that. Now, I will say that, but I don't think he's going to be a flop either. And if he's going to be an impact player and gets, assists or a goal here or there and makes a lot of chances, I don't think that's a flop as such, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to flop. I mean, he has looked good. I know people say pre-season doesn't matter, but he has looked good. He's linked up well with Watkins. He's been direct. Yes, sometimes the touch let him down, but that's, the pros and cons of being a winger. Sometimes the touch lets you down. Sometimes it helps you out, because they're either 2 out of 10s or 10 out of 10s. There's just no in between with wingers. So maybe I can see the reason why Rich has gone with Marlon in terms of expectations and all that, but I don't think he'll be a flop as such.
Fair. That's fair. And look, all this is like, we hope that this doesn't happen, isn't it? But we have to do it for a little bit of controversy.
You keep receipts, Rich, so I hope this comes to bite you back.
Ross says Rodgers. And That's an interesting one. That is a controversial shout. Now that is a controversial shout. Adam says Pau Torres or McGinn. And Adam says, Marlon, are you insane? And Duncan said, Marlon will be key this season. Gary said, Cash is never bad all the time, but Bailey is. Adam says, will Marlon get the chance this season? Engine number 9 says, Arteta to flop on the floor when we beat them 5-1 at home. Gary says, Marlon will be sulking if Gesson takes his spot. Paul D says, spot on, Rich. Always loved you, Paul. Duncan said, Marlon will be the assist king this season. British Mixer, I think Rich has got a point, but only based on how much we've hyped him. He's pretty much said that, but completely agree. David said, Buendia, I'd sell Bailey and Ramsey and Pau. Kev says, Marlon scores goals, don't care what anyone says, given the opportunity. Adam thinks it's going to be Gesson, sadly. Sarko said he thinks Marlon will struggle to get minutes. I think he will play as a 9 in place of Ollie for 30 minutes or in the cup. And Kyrie said Bailey will never contribute to goals again. He is finished. Who else have we got? Adamski says, stop it, Rich. You're ruining my morning. PF Sports says he agrees with Rich. Always loved you as well, PF Sports. He's getting overhyped. Adam says we didn't use him enough, Marlon, enough last season. I do think we didn't use him enough. Yes, I really do. We should have probably used him. And Kevin said, if Marlon isn't picked, it's on Emery. So, George, you said John McGinn. Is that purely on game time, or do you think kind of maybe the time for McGinn is moving towards an end?
Yeah, no, he's McGinn's fine, man. The only reason I picked him, I'm just thinking that, I could see it being a big season for Onana this year. So is he going to get in there with him and Kamara or Tielemans, whatever the combo is? As I've just said there, you've got Gesson on the right, you've got Marlon on the right, you've got Bailey on the right. He played a few times off the left last year, which I didn't like at all. But you've got Ramsey out there who looks like he's now, well, is he staying, is he not? You've got Rodgers, who, that's my favourite spot for him, is out on the left. So I'm just sort of thinking, where are the starts going to be from McGinn? I guess, once the injuries start and all that, and players come in, players come out, he'll always get his fair share of games. I just think, with every passing year, his impact will sort of maybe start lessening. But, he always stands up and proves everyone wrong. So I'll be more than happy if he, come the end of the season, he's played 50 games and we've smashed it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Who did you go for? You went for Leon Bailey, Martin. Was that right?
No, I went for Matty Cash.
Oh, Matty Cash. Yes. Well, we hope that's not the case, because Andres Garcia might be on his way out. So do you see then Lamar Bogard taking the spot at right back then?
I see. The reason I've gone with Matty Cash is I just think that there's no progressive football with him. Like, although he is a very good one-on-one defender, but on the ball he's not progressive. He's not looking for that forward pass in between the lines like Ian
I don't think they want him to, Martin, do they? I don't think Emery wants him to, though.
It's not about whether Emery wants him to or not. I mean, he should still have that capability of getting the pass forward. You know what I mean? Like, he shouldn't have to keep getting the ball and going back or sideways or back to the keeper, trying to cut back with the ball as he's dribbling backwards. Like, regardless whether Emery wants that or not, if you're a professional footballer, your first thing to do is trust your confidence in your own ability. I sometimes think Matty Cash might not do that in terms of progressing forward, because we've always seen Emery wanting to go between the lines with every single other player. So why would that be the case for Matty Cash? And I don't think that is. I just think Matty Cash is not a good on the ball playing right back, where he's not looking for that forward pass. He's not looking to go in between the lines quickly. And I think on that side, we haven't really scored that many goals from him. Where when I've seen Andres Garcia play there, and I know there's talks from either going to Betis or Valencia, but he wanted to get forward. He was making that forward pass. He was beating the fullbacks on his side. He was beating the wingers. He wanted to prove a point, and that's something that I love. Like, he wanted to get down, and also while still being a good defender. Yes, there were still mistakes to his game because he's young, he's learning. But with Matty Cash, he should be at a stage now where he's in his prime. He should know his job. It's to get forward, be up the pitch, try to beat the player, get the cross in. He can put a good ball in. I'm not saying he can't. But he just sometimes doesn't do that. He tries to, when he gets into that good position crossing, again, what he does is try cut to the side and pass sideways into Tielemans, when you should be getting that ball in the box and try and see what happens out of that. So I just think for Matty Cash, like, it's at a stage now in terms of tactical stuff for Emery. It's not making the cut. Now, do I think Lamar Bogart will start over Matty Cash? Probably not, because I do think Emery will still go with Matty Cash. But in saying that, I do think we need to sign a right back ahead of him, because it's getting to the point now where we need someone on that side who's not also going to be good defensively, but be good on the ball and make a different dynamic in terms of us going forward.
Maybe.
I think if he wanted to do that, he'd have replaced him by now, and he hasn't. I'll stick with what I said there. I think he tells Cash to play like you've just described. He likes to play down one side at a time. If he's going both sides, you're too open to be counted on.
Yeah, potentially. I agree. It's just sometimes he's in opportunities to cross it and he doesn't. But yeah. Bit of breaking news from Craig Hope of the Daily Mail. Been on the channel a few times as well. Newcastle are pushing ahead with the move to sign top midfield target Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa with hope of progress before the weekend. Newcastle are tonight pressing ahead with a move to sign Aston Villa midfielder Jacob Ramsey, and there is hope of progress before the weekend. Daily Mail Sport understands that talks are set to intensify on Wednesday and a formal offer is about to be submitted. So there we go. Looks like they're going to... That was at 3 minutes ago reported from Craig Hope. So, maybe that is potential with Marco Asensio coming in. We'll wait and see. So let's press on with so we've gone for our flop of the season. We've gone for the dark horse. Let's round off the final two with the young player of the season and the player of the season. So young player of the season, we'll quickly run through this one. 3 of us have gone for Lamar Bogard. Me, Sam, and George. Martin has gone for George Hemmings. And Kev has gone for Morgan Rogers. So obviously Rogers potentially more of an established first-team player, but still falls into the young player category. But you've been impressed with Lamar Bogard, George?
Yeah, like you said, he's sort of bulked up, looks physical and that. It's just the fact that he can nip in and fill in at all these positions, can't he? You know, we've got a long arse Europa League campaign ahead of us. And I just think, he's sort of growing in stature, and he's, there was talk, we were saying it last season, will he still be with us? And I'm happy that he is. Yeah, and I just think over the season he'll get his games and gradually get himself back into the reckoning. Yeah, so looking forward to seeing what Bogard could do this year.
Yeah, and Martin, you mentioned George Hemmings, been impressed with him in pre-season. Do you think he's going to get some game time with Carabao Cup, maybe some Europa League games?
Yeah, at the start, when he had that good game against Walsall, I took that with a pinch of salt because, we've always seen when young players have a great game in pre-season, there might be a lot of calls for them to come in, but then you wouldn't see them in the season. And that has always been kind of the norm, not just for Aston Villa, but for many clubs. But we've seen in pre-season now when he's played, I think he's shown maturity beyond his years. I think he understands the tactics that Unai Emery wants him to implement. We've seen against Marseille how he was playing against senior level players from France and being able to progress the ball, being able to pass between the lines at a level that you would expect of a Youri Tielemans. Now, I'm not saying he's as good as him, but he could potentially be, given his age. But he has shown a lot of maturity for me. And I think he is one player that you shouldn't loan, because then I think that will hamper his development, in my opinion. I think he should be around the likes of our midfield players to learn a lot, to nurture them, so that he can get better and better and better. That's what some players do. Some players go out on loan because it's just not for them. I think he's one of them where he should be in the squad, biding his time, getting his games in the Capital Cup, FA Cup, potentially Europa League. And I think he will show a lot of maturity in that midfield. Like being 18 years of age, playing like a 24-year-old, and then having the IQ of someone who's 40 to get the balls in between the lines, as a midfielder should do. So I do think he could be a great shout, in my opinion, for Young Player of the Year, simply for that reason.
Yeah. Well, I've been impressed with him. I just wonder whether he'll get enough minutes, but he certainly looks like a player and he could potentially save us millions in terms of midfielder. Let's see what some of the comments are saying. Gimo Aloba says Villa, James, I think he could be someone who gets used as well. Duncan says Bogard, the young player of the season, for sure. And Kevin said Emery's got a weird thing with right backs, buys and sells them without ever really playing for us regularly. It's baffling. And Adamski says Gmo or Hemmings. Who else have we got? What about Redmond, says Paul D. Will he get a loan or make the squad? No, he's apparently fit again, isn't he? He was injured, but I think he's been back in training this week. So that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah. Fabrizio, again, just to go one better, I suppose, or to one up Craig Hope, because Craig Hope said a formal bid hasn't been made yet, but Fabrizio Romano has now said, understand Newcastle are closing in on the Jacob Ramsey deal with Aston Villa. Agreement almost done for 40 million package as clubs are finalising the deal. And then here we go. Despite West Ham approach, Ramsey only wants Newcastle as NUFC move is now imminent. So I'd imagine he won't be in the squad on Saturday and it will get announced probably Monday. I can't see him playing against us after signing, but we'll see. £40 million. Whether that's the fee or whether that's in the whole package, we'll wait and see. But yeah, before we get on to player of the season, George, 40 million, is that a good deal for Ramsey?
We'll be loath to lose a homegrown player and a player that's had potential, and he's had good spells for us, but at the same time, he's flat to deceive a fair bit, had his fair share of injuries as well. And to be honest, lads, we've said it all summer. We need to sell someone to get the wages that well. I know his wages ain't sky high, but you've got to get. We haven't really sold anyone all summer, have we? So someone was always going to go. And for me, if it was going to be someone, I would. You think about who you. Oh, what am I trying to say here? One that you could maybe get rid of, could spare. Ramsey would be high up on the list if one of them had to go. So go with our blessing and good luck to him.
Yeah, I was on the Loaded Mag show before this one, and I just said, look, with Jacob Ramsey, I think there's a lot of sentiment there with him being an Aston Villa boy that's coming through the academy. But I think if you looked at it and analysed it and you think, right, we can get 40 million here, a PSR, 100% profit sale, has he fulfilled the potential that he's promised on multiple occasions? You probably have to say no. Because every time he seemed to get going, he's always dropped off with an injury. Have we had enough goals from him? Probably not. Have we had enough assists from him? Probably not. Does he gets us territory carrying the ball, which is brilliant, but I've always felt a little bit underwhelmed with Jacob Ramsey. I've always felt, even when he's played well, I've always felt there's more to come from him. There's more to come from him. Like, there should be more to come from him, whether that be during a game, whether that be over the course of multiple games, whether that be when we're waiting for him to come back from injury. And I've never, ever quite felt that we've got that from him. And that's always been my problem with Ramsey. And he's drifted in and out of games at times when we've played away from home. He gets pushed off the ball too easy. I think there's definitely a player there. There's definitely a player there. But to get 40 million for him, to then be able to, and I put a tweet out before, if you get 40 million from him based on the PSR kind of accounting that you can do, you can potentially then reinvest that in a right back, in a centre back, and actually strengthen the squad. Martin, is that something that you can justify?
In the words of Shane McMahon, money, 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 dollar, 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 dollar. I think 40 million is absolutely stealing Newcastle, to be honest with you, because his injury record, in my opinion, for Ramsey hasn't been great over the last few years, trying to keep himself fit. And to get 40 million for him in terms of PSR, huge profit, 100% profit. And I just think that is great business from Aston Villa. Because obviously he's English and everything else, and the market goes up. He's played in the Champions League. He's played in other European competitions. So the market will always go up. And I just think now that he's sold, and you did put up that tweet, Rich, and I had seen it, I do think that the good thing to do is sell Ramsey and get a right back and a centre back in. It doesn't necessarily have to be an unbelievable out and out right back that you might need, but just someone that, who would do a better job than Matty Cash. I've seen a lot of people in the comments calling out for Dumfries from Inter Milan. But whether that's something that happens or materializes, I don't know. Bissek was one who was linked earlier in the window.
Mingueza, Oscar Mingueza, he's been after, hasn't he, in the past?
Yeah,
and
he's been after in the past. So obviously a big sale was needed for Villa in terms of obviously the SCR, but Ramsey's wages doesn't cut it down too much. But in terms of what you're getting in money-wise, it can help us unlock that transfer, which is something that a lot of journalists have actually saying. If we make one big sale, it'll open windows for us to get 2 or 3 players in. And I think this one is going to do it.
Yeah, I think Asensio comes in, but I think we might go for that El Canoes from Leicester because Newcastle are interested in him. I think we might go for El Canoes.
Yeah, El Canoes he's an exciting player. He's not obviously not the finished article yet. I do think Emery can, produce him to be a top player, but I don't think now an attacking player is going to be hugely considered, in my opinion. If you're bringing in an Asensio, he's going to have to kind of take a wage cut in terms of if it's a permanent deal, but if it's a loan, then it's not really going to be ideal in terms of SCR and our George here, the accountant, will have a heart attack if that's the case. But I just think the priority for Villa is a right back and the centre back, because we can't win, in my opinion, into the new season with 3 fit centre backs. You need 4 at least, and we need a right back.
100%. Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but looks like some deals are getting done, which is very interesting, and there could be more to come potentially over the coming days. So let's round off the awards with our player of the season. Hopefully no one's gone for Jacob Ramsey. I can't remember who went for who. But I went for Yuri Tillemans. Kev went for Ollie Watkins. Sam, Yuri Tillemans. George, Amadou Onana. And Martin, Daniel Marlin. So that's why you were defending him. So, yeah. You expecting big things from Daniel, are you, Martin?
I am expecting big things. Now, do I think he'll start week in, week out? Maybe not, because we have that depth to full rotational, but I do think he's going to have a really big season for me. I just think he's looked sharp in pre-season. I actually think he's slimmed down a little bit. Not that he was carrying weight or anything, but he just looks a bit slimmer and looks fit and ready for the Premier League. And I think he's in for a big season. I really do. I just think his directness is something that we have missed, and just a different dynamic. Because when I look at Bailey, yes, he's skillful on the ball and all that, but then it got to the point where he was being skillful but going in the wrong direction. He was going back, passing back to Matty Cash, even though they had a great understanding, making all the safe choices. And then when you're putting Rodgers out there, that's not his role either. He has to do a few things to try and accommodate other players, where I think now if you put Malin out on that right side, that different dynamic, get the ball in behind, he's got plenty of pace to get that ball for an early crossing, for the likes of Ollie Watkins to try and finish. And I just think he's going to be a big, big player for Aston Villa this season.
Well, I hope so. I do hope so. I really do. Who's in the chat? Duncan says he thinks Watkins could shade it, but he thinks Marlon and Tillemans as well. Paul D says Konsa gets ignored by the world and sometimes even our fan base. Yeah, I take your point. Definitely take your point. Adamski says Rodgers, player of the season. Gary says Emi, but Martinez back on form. Anyone else? No. So I've gone for Yuri. I think.
Gone for Onana.
Yes. British Mix says Onana is capable, needs to toughen up for a big man. Yuri is too relied upon, hence he'd have to have a stormer to rise above our expectations. Ollie, for me to score 25 plus goals. Well, that would certainly potentially fire us into the top 4. Mm-hmm. But George, you did go for Amadou Onana. Are you expecting big things from the big man?
Yeah, mate, I really do hope so. I'm just going on basically how he started and how he finished. When it's almost like when he's up for it, he was like our standout best player, wasn't he? You think at the start of the season, he battered West Ham, battered Leicester, if I think rightly. And then sort of fast forward to the end, his performance at Bournemouth was absolutely sensational. Just bossed the game completely. PSG at home in the Champions League, again, I thought he was just immense. The only thing is, you're going to have to break up last season's midfield to get him in. But I think that's something you do. For me, for as good as Tielemans was last year, and he was, we scored less goals, we conceded more goals, and we finished lower than we did the season before when he was in the 10. So for me, I'm going Kamara, Onana at the base, Tielemans back to the 10 where he was the season before, Rodgers out on the left, your new lad Gesson out on the right, Watkins up front, and I think that's your master plan. And I think if that can be our base for the season, Onana could really have a top season.
So who's captain instead of McGinn? Martinez or Tielemans or
Mings?
Again, is he going to start Mings? I mean, I'd love Mings to start the games, but
I nearly give the captaincy back to Mings. Just that natural leadership, he's someone who has that voice, and he didn't lose that leadership when he lost his captaincy.
Emery loves
power,
though, doesn't he? Emery loves power.
I understand that, but if you mean a natural, I thought
I 100% agree with you, Martin. 100% agree, but yeah. So George, who does take the captaincy then, George? Because I still think that a lot of the times McGinn is the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah.
Well, obviously
Martin is
still captain.
Martin is still the deputy, right? But obviously there was been a lot of speculation all season about his future. So he might. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who you'd give it to if he's not on the pitch.
What about Morgan Rodgers?
Too young.
Yeah, I don't know. Right? I don't think yes.
Yuri Tielemans,
Captain Morgan.
Tielemans is probably most consistent. So maybe him.
Yeah.
And to touch on your base, George, what you were looking at in your midfield. I don't think it's going to be a double pivot. I think it's going to be Kamara as a sole 6 and having Tielemans and Onana as 8s, with Tielemans being that more of a free role where Onana's going to be like box to box and just breaking up the play, which I think that's something Onana really excels at, because I don't think Onana is great when he's sitting. Yes, there's games when he has to sit and he's but if he's doing that week in, week out, he's not being utilised to the best of his ability. So I like
him up and down as well. Yeah.
When he's up and down, he is unbelievable. He will break through players. And he's technically good on the ball too. So I just think that's his best position as that 8, and you can have Tielemans up that forward a bit. Maybe he's a deep playmaker when he needs to come down and get it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of rotation at midfield, which is something that excites me.
Yeah. Alex Moreno likes the idea of Ollie Watkins as well. He thinks he's going to join the Prem 100 club. That would be fantastic if he did that. And Rodgers is a future captain, says a lot of people. So could be a shout, mate. Could be a shout. Before we finish up, let's get into the hot takes. So this could be Villa related. This could be Premier League related. Let's go with Martin first. What's your hot take? And then we'll get some in the chat as well. Something controversial or something that you think is going to happen across the season that maybe people haven't really thought about.
My hot take is Eddie Howe will be the fourth manager sacked. I just think that, it's nothing to do with the Isaac situation or like that, if that's what people are thinking. I just think when I've seen early in the transfer window and they're trying to get a lot of players in, a lot of players saying no. And you've seen that list kind of being cut and other players obviously coming up because they're looking at other targets, of course. But to me, sometimes, and I am not disrespecting Eddie Howe as a manager, I think he's a good manager. I think he's great with young players. But if you're a club like Newcastle, we're having all this money in the world, I know they have their PSO issues as well, but I think they will get around that eventually. When you want top players to join your club, is Eddie Howe an attractive manager for Newcastle? When we looked at Man City many years ago, when Mark Hughes was actually in charge before they even brought in Mancini, a lot of players would have said no to Man City because Mark Hughes wasn't the most attractive of managers. So when you get rid of him and then you brought in Roberto Mancini, you've just seen a whole flood of quality come into Man City. And I just think Eddie Howe was maybe taking Newcastle as far as he can get them. Because I just think Eddie Howe was a plan A manager, in my opinion. Yes, he has a good squad, but we've seen he doesn't have a lot of depth. And when he has a few injuries, Newcastle dip massively. And he doesn't have a lot of answers. Yes, he's good at keeping them up and keeping a respectable position. But I don't think he can attract a lot of big players, what Newcastle is hoping to get to. And I just think that's going to hurt Eddie Howe in the long run. And it's not a disrespectful thing, like I said. It just has to get to that point where, right, Which one are we looking at? Why are we not getting these top players in? Sometimes it's down to the manager. And if that's a sacrificial lamb you have to make in order for your club to get up to that next stage, then I think he could be the first one sacked if their performances aren't great. But if they are, obviously he'll stay. But if they're not, I think Newcastle might be quick to jump the gun and get rid of him.
It's not a bad shout, actually, in terms of like attracting those big name players, because he's obviously got a great reputation as a coach and as a kind of getting the best out of a team. But can he cross that bridge and attract top level players? That's the interesting one. A couple of people have kind of gotten ahead of me, but I think that both Ruben Amorim and Thomas Frank will not see out this season.
Oh,
big shout.
Oh, shout.
Yeah.
Ruben, I'm not too sure about Frank. Maybe they might give him a bit of time, but I do like the sound of Ruben because he's gone to spend big, hasn't he, on this attack?
Yeah, so. I just don't know about Thomas Frank's style of football, and it's got a touch of the Nuno Espirito Santo about it with regards to Tottenham.
Yeah, there is inconsistency to Thomas Frank's tactics sometimes.
Streaky with his results.
Yeah. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I really like him as a coach, but I just don't know how he'll get the patience after, say, maybe they go on a bad run of 3 or 4 games and then it'll soon close in on him.
But would it be like like you said, Rich, like he's good at these mid-table?
Well, yeah, he'll get a couple of ones. Yeah,
exactly, one of the best managers.
Oh, he'll get a couple of 1-0 wins that they'll just scrape over the line, but the football won't be good enough for the Spurs way. And Jamie O'Hara will be having his word on TalkSport, and all the Tottenham boys will be out there saying it's not the Spurs way, it's not the Spurs way. And then he'll get sacked after they lose like 3-0 to Villa or something. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think will happen. And Ruben Amorim, I just don't think he'll have the, again, on the loaded mag with Dan, United fan, he was saying that attacking wise they've got some really good players, but what happens if Mbeumo gets injured or Cunha gets injured? He's got Mavericks in Cunha and Fernandes. How is he going to knit that together? He's really, really just focused on this one formation. I don't think he's got the defense to cope with that formation right now. So I think that's going to help make him come unstuck, and he's very, very rigid in that. And he's already thrown players under the bus, and I just don't know if he's got the humility to be able to change the tactics. So that's my take. Duncan says, Man U, first manager to go. Adamski says Amorim as well. James, as I said, United and Spurs have new managers by Christmas. Bear in the Garden says PSR and FFP will be mentioned more than VAR during the season. Spurs for the drop, says Duncan. Who knows?
Whoa.
Kevin says Spurs manager to be sacked. Trust me. British Mix said, here's my hot take. Villa will beat Marseille in the Europa League final, and it will be bittersweet in a game that actually.
Marseille not in the Champions League.
I think Marseille are in the Champions League, so I don't know if that'll happen, unfortunately. But it would be brilliant. Paul D says Salah won't score 10 goals this season. What about you then, George? What's your hot take?
Yeah, I went for a bit of a random one. I've gone for this to be Pep's last season in charge of City, like him not finish the season at City this year.
Not finish the season.
Either him walk or them finally get rid of him. Yeah, last season that he just aged last year really bad on that bad run, didn't he? And he lost the plot for a while there, and he finally run out of ideas of how to sort City out, and then luckily January the checkbook come and saved him like it does. But in his, he's been a fantastic manager. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything different, but he's had his own way that whole time he's been there. Now the big boys are starting to spend money around him. Liverpool are starting to get players that Man City can't. Man United are starting to spend their money again. Chelsea have gone mad. Chelsea have been signing players for 3-4 years now, and they're just getting older and older and better and better. And I just think Pep might not be able to compete as well as he has done in previous years. And he's used to getting what he wants and being the main man. And I think he might just get the ump and think, maybe this is my time to get out of here now.
Interested. James says, go on, George. Yeah, that's what we're here for. Pep getting the boot. British Mick said, okay, then he'll go with Ollie being the leading Premier League goal scorer. We like a bit of that. We We'll remind Sam as well on that one. And Ross said, is everyone joined to the fantasy football? Well, it's interesting you say that, Ross. So we have the Villa Park Pod Fantasy Football League set up. So please sign up to our FPL League. Use the code below W406YC. And now I haven't entered yet. I'm still resisting it, but I'm pretty sure by the time Friday comes, I will have a team in it and I will be invested in it for about 3 weeks. And then as soon as I'll get 0 points in a week, I'll have quit and I won't bother with the team. But it's always good to start it off. But yeah, I'll bring that up again. Obviously, Fantasy Premier League online, and then use the code below W406YC for the Villa Park Pod Fantasy League. Please get involved. So just a roundup of our predictions. League winners. I'm the only one who's gone for Manchester City. Everyone else, Kev, Sam, George, Martin, have gone for Liverpool. The relegation odds have been relegation teams: Rich, Brentford, Burnley, Sunderland; Kev, Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland; Sam, Burnley, Leeds and Wolves; George, Leeds, Sunderland and Burnley; and Martin, Brentford, Burnley and Wolves. The top 4: Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool and Chelsea. I've said Kev has gone for Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City and Villa. Sam, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea and Villa. George, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea. And Martin, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City and Chelsea. Then we have our dark horse of the season: Lamar Bogard for me, Daniel Marlin for Kev, Emi Buendia for Sam and Martin, and Ian Matson for George. Then we have our flop of the season. I've gone for Daniel Marlin. Kev and Sam have gone for Leon Bailey. George, John McGinn, and Martin, Matty Cash. Then our young player of the season, Lamar Bogard for me, Sam and George. Morgan Rogers for Kev, and George Hemmings coming in at the end of the preseason for Martin. He's impressed him so much. And player of the season, me and Sam have gone for Yuri Tillemans. Kev has gone for Ollie Watkins. George has gone for Amadou Onana, and Martin has gone for Daniel Marlin. So whatever it is, it's going to be an interesting season. I've gone for Villa in 5th. Martin's gone for Villa in 5th, and George has gone for Villa in 6th. Rounding off the show, though, boys, are Villa going to bring a cup home? Can we put some silverware into that cabinet? George?
Europa or bust, lads, isn't it?
It is.
Of course it is. Forget the League Cup, will be straight out of that. He's not going to want to know again in that. FA Cup, luck of the draw, isn't it? But that Europa League is the one, isn't it? If we want to get in the Champions League. It's getting harder and harder again, as we've discussed, to get it via the positions in the league. Europa League gets you it, and it gets you a trophy. So we've got to be going all out for that for me. So it's possible, yeah.
Martin?
2 cups. FA Cup, Europa League.
Wow.
Jesus.
Okay. Well, look, we're on positive.
I'm playing a role of Kevin here. So
yeah, someone's got to win it. British Mix says, thanks for the live, guys. Some brilliant views on my favourite Villa pod, top man. Here's to a great season ahead. Up the Villa, everyone. And I think that is the best way to finish it off. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We've had nearly 300 in the chat, which is absolutely fantastic. Please do hit the like button and hit that subscribe button on your way out if you haven't already. Help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. We've got everything covered for you this season. We've got match reactions. We've got player rating shows, which will be a new show coming up. We've got Talking Tactics back, hopefully, with Gareth. Fans forums, Lions Raw match reaction shows as well. You name it, we've got it. So please stay tuned to the channel. We hope you have a fantastic season following the Villa this year. And we hope to hit some silverware and potentially seal a Champions League spot. And you never know. Someone's got to win the league. Could it be Aston Villa? Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.